Welcome to episode 67 of The Cover 2 presented by TigerVision. I'm with Grayson Mann. I'm Patrick Neal. As always, we're back on this Wednesday talking about football as we always do. Grayson, it was a pretty solid week of NFL football.
You know, usually, and I think this is always a great indicator, if the Thursday night game is good, you got a good slate coming ahead. We got a great product between a team that I thought in Seattle was starting to fall off. Now, they still lost. But back and forth, entertaining. It's always a game, I think, the Thursday night game is the one you're always on your phone the most. You're kind of just have it on in the background because it's football and maybe something exciting will happen. Guarantee you that's going to be a lot of the attitude towards this week's Thursday night football game. But great weekend, a lot of standout stuff, a lot of storylines to talk about, Patrick. First off, congratulations to Jake Browning and the Cincinnati Bengals for a big overtime win over Trevor Lawrence, C.J. Beathard, and the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Yeah, that was I'm sorry, Jake Browning, I wasn't familiar with your game.
Yes.
He had I believe it was the fifth highest completion percentage of a Bengals quarterback ever. He went 32 of 37 for 354, 2 total touchdowns, 1 rushing, 1 passing. Yeah, he played all right in this game, you know.
Safe to say he cooked?
He did cook a little bit, and they somehow managed to win this game. I say somehow, but Trevor Lawrence did get injured, so hopefully it's a high ankle sprain, so he should be back this season, luckily, because that would stink if you're the Jaguars. If he wasn't playing anymore, season's probably done for, but hopefully he can get back soon. But yeah, Jake Browning was all right. I was a little bit confused. Tyler Boyd, man, what are you doing there? You know, him and Jamar Chase both had a pass thrown. Jamar Chase went for -7 yards. Tyler Boyd went for an interception. So, yeah, Brian Callahan and Zach Taylor really didn't want Jake Browning to throw the ball, I guess, in this game, even though he was playing all right. So
yeah, that backwards pass reminded me of the Jacoby Myers one back in 2022 when the Raiders lost, but they came out of it on the other end pretty okay, I'd say. Cincinnati is 6-6 now, I believe.
Yep.
Do they have an inside shot at the playoffs, or do you think that they're still just not? This team doesn't have enough to replicate that kind of performance moving forward? Because there was something there. It wasn't like Jake Browning was getting. I think there was the one throw to Jamar Chase down the sideline that he's going to hopefully get an opportunity to do that every game, just because Jamar Chase is so good. But it felt like he's just sustained drives. He was making all the right throws. Like there was something sustainable there.
Yeah, I think so.
Didn't feel fluky.
Yeah, it didn't feel. Jake Browning felt like a competent backup in this game, someone who could, you know, hold the reins, hold it down while Joe Burrow's out. So they play the Colts this week. Gardner Minshew backup QB, although the Colts are 7-5 and doing all right. They have the Vikings, which could be a tough game, but again, backup QB Josh Dobbs. So potentially they got the Steelers, the Chiefs, and the Browns. So they could be playing 4 backup QBs out of 5 and Patrick Mahomes. But you know, it's Patrick Mahomes, but also the Bengals have been good against the Chiefs in recent years. So it's possible. Yeah, I mean, they were running the ball right this game as well. You know, you had Chase Brown, the rookie running back, who hasn't really done too much up to this point. He had 6.8 yards per carry, so got a little bit going with him and Joe Mixon. Yeah, I think there's potential here. Although also, like, I'm not mad if, you know, you tank and get a better draft pick. But also, because I think at this point, I don't know if Jake Browning is doing much in the playoffs because it is Jake Browning. But again, you never know.
Now, if the Bengals were to go on some crazy run and they make the playoffs, which team in the offseason is giving him the Brock Osweiler contract?
No, it would be the Bengals trading away Joe Burrow to keep Jake Browning. I think
that would be terrible.
The move. It'd be fantastic because then you unload the big QB contract. You have Jake Browning on a small contract, and you have more space to build. Obviously, but
obviously that's the move everyone would take in that situation.
Yeah. Anyways, you know, there was a bit of talk about backup QBs here. Was that something you wanted to talk about?
Yeah, I think it's something to address. Do you think that this year, I mean, there's so many, let's start with Joe Burrow, Trevor Lawrence, Deshaun Watson, Anthony Richardson. Like, the list really goes on and
Aaron
on and
Rodgers,
on. Yes.
Kirk Cousins.
Yes.
So many.
And so do you feel like, in part, in certain cases, that the NFL product as a whole takes a hit? Because we've had these, in at least our lifetimes, like a couple of seasons here and there where it feels like half the league's playing with backup QBs. Do you think that it takes away from the season as a whole? Because I feel like this has been a pretty good year, but the more, like with last night or Monday night with Trevor Lawrence, it felt like that was the conversation of, man, there's so many backups playing right now. And I mean, Gardner Minshew's not a scrub by any means. Josh Dobbs has played really well and been a nice story. I wanted to get your thoughts on it at least.
Yeah, no, I think, it may just be a bit of a fluke. Maybe it's something to do with the extra game, although we haven't gotten to the extra game yet.
Yeah.
But scoring is down. It's the lowest it's been in a while, and part of that is due to the backup QB situation. It's still been a decent product, but it's been more of the early 2000s style of football where teams are winning by defense. You got the Ravens, you got the Browns, you got a few other teams as well. The Steelers even, or any team like that. Just the whole AFC North minus the Bengals, because the Bengals defense hasn't been great this year. But anyways, it's just a different style of football that's kind of gone on this year. It's been a little bit of a renaissance with the win by our defense, let our offense be good enough to survive, and then let our defense make plays.
Unless you're New England. You lead the league in fewest points allowed for the first.
They're 0-3.
0-4.
0-4 when letting teams less than 10 points.
They've allowed 40 points in the last 4 games total, and they're 0-4. And that leads the league in fewest points allowed in defensive efficiency. And, I mean, you see it with the Chargers game. They lose 6-0.
Yep.
Like, all you needed to do is put together one drive, and you probably win that game. Same with the Giants, Colts, and the list goes on. But it is certainly a weird. I mean, the Falcons won 13-8.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. Great score.
Buccaneers winning 21-18 feels very vintage.
Yep.
Something that I think you and I, just transition quickly here, something that you and I think we, like pretty much everyone, was pretty spot on with early on was that the 49ers were a pretty good football team. They started 5-0, then they started to stumble a little bit, hit that injury bug. But man, did they put on a show this weekend against Philadelphia. Did you get a chance to watch Brock Purdy toss 4 touchdowns in the city where he, I don't know, broke his elbow, did something, it was like a UC, I don't even know what you call it.
Stop being able to throw the ball.
Yes, a lot made the argument that if Brock Purdy was healthy, that the 49ers would have been playing in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, well, I mean, I was kind of in and out of watching this game. I think I had some homework I was doing. So, but what I did see was Brock Purdy throwing to Deebo Samuel for him to go on and take it 40 yards down the field, make 3-4 guys miss, and bring it into the end zone. So I think Brock Purdy is currently the leader for MVP race in betting odds. I can double check on that, but he's one of the leaders in betting odds currently. Well, Dak is up there as well, but Brock Purdy, while he has been a great QB this year, he can't be MVP. I know at this point, nobody knows anything about what the MVP is supposed to mean. Is it supposed to be the best QB on the best team? Is it the most valuable player? Is it just who puts up the most stats? It's a weird conversation to have. But I just don't think Brock Purdy should be sitting there.
You talk about most valuable. Did you see the whole Twitter argument of Jordan Travis should be a Heisman finalist because of how important he was to leaving FSU?
That's kind of funny, actually.
That was really funny.
Yeah, I mean, if you're going to use that logic,
then he's probably the most valuable player in college football.
Well, yeah, so back to what I was saying. Dak, he's the leader. Brock Purdy's second. Hurts, Mahomes, Tua, Lamar Jackson. I wrote this down. It won't happen, but does C.J. Stroud deserve to be like in the MVP finalist conversation as a potential MVP?
Well, because we talked about it a couple weeks ago when they were 5-4 or 4-4, something like that, and we still thought that alone was such an impressive achievement. They're 7-5 now, and they're still in the thick of it. They could still win the AFC South. C.J. Stroud against a really improved Broncos team put up 274 and a touchdown. Houston's relevant, which I think if you took C.J. Stroud away from Houston, what would their record be? Because it would be Davis Mills throwing the rockets to these guys.
It would probably not be very similar. He did lose Tank Dell, and I think if he loses he's had Nico Collins and Noah Brown and Robert Woods, but Tank Dell has probably been the most noticeable guy just because he's a rookie. Mm-hmm. The other guys are still very, very good, but if he loses a guy like Tank Dell, proceeds to make the playoffs and win a playoff game or something like that in his first season with a roster that's, in all honesty, not great. Although the coaching staff has gotten fantastic work out of guys like Jonathan Grenard, some of the rookies, Tank Dell, C.J. Stroud, like we mentioned, a few other guys as well. Will Anderson, another rookie. I mean, there's got to be something for that. Whether it's D'Amico Ryans as Coach of the Year, C.J. Stroud has probably got the Rookie of the Year locked up by now.
Oh, yeah.
Even with Puka Nacua having a good game this past week. I just think C.J. Stroud, if you're talking strictly most valuable players, C.J. Stroud's got to be up there. I think Tyreek Hill also has to be up there, especially if he hits 2,000 yards, just because he's probably, when you look at the Dolphins' offense, if you were to take either Tua out or Tyreek Hill out, which team is better and more successful? It's probably the team with Tua out and Tyreek still in the offense, just because of what Tyreek does with, how he stretches the defense, how he shifts the gravity of what the defense is focusing on. But yeah, I think those guys got to be up there right now.
I think so too. I mean, I think Dak will probably win the award if the Cowboys finish the year I think they should, and with the numbers that he's putting up. But obviously, I mean, looking at these final 5 games for Houston, you got 2 of them at home, so you're going to have to play a majority of these on the road. You go to New York this Sunday. They're probably going to win that because Zach Wilson, he was asked to start, and he said, "That's crazy, bro."
He was quiet quitting.
Good luck.
He was quiet quitting.
Yes. That they play the Titans twice, and they play Cleveland at home, which I assume they scheduled that on Christmas Eve because of Deshaun. And then they finished on the road against Indianapolis. I could see Houston going 12-5 because the Titans with Will Levis, they're okay, but I don't think they don't have enough. The Jets, if the Texans put up 13 points, they're going to win that football game. Cleveland can't get it done. Maybe that'll be interesting if Joe Flacco continues to play better. That's a weird sentence. But
he played all right.
If the Texans finish 11-6 or 12-5, somehow win the division with the circumstances surrounding Trevor Lawrence, or even make the playoffs, he's got to be a candidate. I don't care if he wins it. He's got to be a candidate.
I think so as well. He's got to be a finalist. But yeah, where else do you kind of want to shift our focus to?
I think we have ignored a certain Green Bay Packers QB for far too long. Jordan Love. So the Packers were 2-6, I believe, at the time. And I think many were ready, and I think I was a part of that group saying, okay, Green Bay is going to have to probably draft a QB at the end of the season. Jordan Love, 4 straight games, 4 straight W's that he's racked off, while the Aaron Rodgers experiment, not really to the fault of Aaron Rodgers at this point, is not looking great. It hasn't really panned out like they wanted to. Packers are in the playoffs if the season ended today. Put on a great performance against Patrick Mahomes in primetime. That's one of those games where I think the GM said when they were 2-6 that these final 10 games would be an audition for Jordan Love. And I think he's more been impressive enough to say, hey, I'm going to be the lead of this here cast.
Yeah, you wonder if him taking that contract deal in the offseason was a bit of a mistake by him, because he could be getting more money potentially. Mm-hmm. But yeah, he's played fantastic this season. Not this season, these past few games rather. He started out the season doing all right. There was a bit of a slump in the middle and has really come on these past few weeks. But yeah, I think a part of that is just growing pains. This is, I believe, the youngest offense in the NFL. You have Jordan Love, who's 24, throwing to Romeo Doubs, who's a second-year player, Dontavian Wicks, who's a rookie, Jaden Reed, who's a rookie, Christian Watson, who's a second-year player, Luke Musgrave, who's a rookie. Aaron Jones is older, but it's Aaron Jones, and he's been kind of hurt this season as well. So it's a young team, and I think they just had to go through their growing pains, because we're seeing it now, how them taking a chance on youth and really kind of focusing on developing these guys is starting to pay off a little bit.
Yeah, and I think for your Matt LaFleur, the patience is certainly a virtue here, because this, by an extension, is Jordan Love's rookie year, as much as Joel Embiid's rookie year, where he won Rookie of the Year type thing. But he's getting the live action, and I think those first 6-ish games, or those first 8 games when they weren't doing too hot, there were certainly flashes of what Jordan Love could do, but it wasn't putting it all together per se. And so now you have a Packers team that looks very like they're complementing each other. Christian Watson's finally healthy. The rookie receivers are starting to get into a groove, knowing what Jordan Love likes, what Matt LaFleur wants to call in terms of the rhythm of a game. And I know Kansas City's not doing great offensively this year, and to their standard. They're performing pretty well offensively. It's just that we're used to the Chiefs putting up 30, 35 points a game. So I still think beating Mahomes is a pretty big deal for a young guy like Jordan Love.
Always.
Ball down on Thanksgiving, which a lot of eyes on that, even though it feels weird to say that with a 12:30 game. You string a win over Mahomes. They've just continued to get better. They're a really exciting watch.
Yeah.
So I think if the Packers can find a way to sneak into the playoffs, especially with how weak the NFC is in terms of the back end of playoff teams, they might be a team that you're looking at the end of the year going, I don't know if we want to play them, because they're hot at the right time.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I mean, I think in the preseason, actually, I can double check this for you right now, but I think I remember saying that the Packers were going to finish above the Lions in the division, which, looking back on it, not the best of picks, but it's kind of starting to...
I mean, they're not going to beat Detroit to win the division, I don't think.
Okay, actually, I had my predictions right here on my phone that I did preseason. And I guess I moved the Lions back. But I wanted to put the Packers there. And yeah, I mean, Jordan Love his arm talent is fantastic. He's able to make a lot of high quality throws, whether it's him switching the arm angles. He's been able to anticipate a little bit as well. So yeah, I'm excited to see what this Packers team does. It looks like, just from these past few games, that they may be able to successfully have a 30-year span of successful QB play that they drafted.
So in 2040, does Jordan Love get traded to the Jets too?
Probably, in all honesty.
Maybe.
Probably.
That would confirm that time is nothing but a flat circle. It would be just continuously going round and round for all you timeline folks. Wouldn't that be something? But I think the Lions will still win that division.
Yeah. Also, I just realized I said they drafted him. They didn't draft Brett Favre.
No, they traded him from the Falcons.
From the Falcons.
So but NFL tribute.
Regardless, 30-plus years of successful QB play in Green Bay.
That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, pretty impressive. But anything else we kind of want to talk about?
Anything else we want to harp on?
You mentioned Zach Wilson. We should probably mention that situation just because it is news.
It is
that
pretty nuts.
So the Jets can't figure out what to do at QB. So first off, I think they wait too long. We both agreed that they wait too long to bench Zach Wilson.
Way too long.
And once they do that, they go to Tim Boyle. Tim Boyle proceeds to not play very well, to everybody's surprise.
Wait, what? The one interception?
He does not play well.
The 1 touchdown to 11 interception ratio at UConn wasn't good enough?
No, it wasn't, surprisingly enough.
Dang it.
Now Tim Boyle has been released.
He has.
He has been released by the Jets.
I'm protesting that.
And Robert Saleh asked Zach Wilson if he wants to go back to being the starter. Zach Wilson's like, nah, I'm good where I am. You do you. I'm gonna watch from the sideline. I'm gonna talk to Aaron Rodgers here for the duration of the game. Talk to Allen Lazard as well, because we spent a big contract on him, but he's not playing.
They spent money on Randall Cobb too.
Yeah, Randall Cobb. All these guys, great guys to be around. Obviously, that's why Aaron Rodgers brought him over. He loves bringing his friends, gets to talk with all of them, yeah, I'll sit on the sideline. I'll watch y'all do your thing, because you kind of embarrassed me a little bit, just the way you've handled this situation. So I don't think I really want to play football, which I didn't know you could do.
I didn't know you could do that either. Just be like, nah. Like, have you seen the meme on Instagram or like Twitter, where it's like a text from somebody's boss and it's like, we need you to come in. We're crazy overstaffed, and it's like, damn, that's crazy. Good luck though.
Yeah, and that's exactly what it is right now. So, it's a tough situation. I believe they hired. You got me talking about work right now. They have brought in Brett Ripien. To really bolster the QB room. Zach Wilson, I believe, is going to be the starter this week at least. It came out earlier. But I don't know if you can't get excited about a QB who doesn't really want to play.
Would you want to hear Brett Ripien's career football stats?
Sure.
So he's been in the league since 2020. He's posted a really impressive stat line here, folks. He's got a completion percentage of 58.3. Thrown for a whopping 950 yards, 4 touchdowns, 9 picks, and a 59.9 QB rating. I mean,
there you go. Fantastic
phenomenal
work.
Great job.
Yeah, but Zach Wilson's confidence is just shot, man.
I think the Jets made the mistake of when they signed Aaron Rodgers. I mean, we didn't know, and hindsight's 2020 here. We didn't know Achilles was gonna pop in the first series or drive of the Jets season, but I think they should have made Zach Wilson the emergency QB, and they should have signed a guy like Jacoby Brissett, or brought in Mike White back, or somebody extremely...
Joe
Flacco, more competent to not only mentor Zach Wilson and find a place for him, or Sam Darnold, for crying out loud, could have come back and been more successful. The backup QB for the Niners right now to Brock Purdy. I think the Jets failed in that instance, and I think this may be a hot take, but I think Saleh and Joe Douglas shouldn't be with the Jets next year because of how they've handled this.
You think they should both be gone?
This Jets team is too good to be at the fingertips of Aaron Rodgers and also at the midst of Zach Wilson. Like, this team is too good to have that kind of QB play plague the season.
Sure, but
that's my hot take.
Do you think part of it is... Like Robert Saleh, he's a defensive-minded coach. He's been, the guy that's kind of gotten that defense to where it is now.
Yeah.
Do you...
Maybe start with the GM, because I don't know who's in whose ear.
That's fair. But, it's kind of tough when Rodgers gets hurt as early as he does. You don't really get to see what the offense looks like with him. I feel like it's probably just going to be like, hey, this season was a wash. Y'all got one more year. Mm-hmm. If it doesn't work out, you're gone. But I feel like it's leaning that direction. I could see it where they get fired. Robert Saleh, Joe Douglas both get fired. Yeah, but I'm kind of thinking that they're going to be like, okay, obviously it didn't go the way we wanted, but Rodgers was hurt, so we'll give you one more chance.
I mean, have you ever had a situation like this where someone just flat out is like, I think they announced that he's going to play anyways, but had a situation where whether it leaks or it doesn't, have that kind of information from reliable sources being like, yeah, I'm not playing, man. Like, good luck.
Let's do a deep dive right here.
It feels like
Google
Ryan Leaf.
Search to try and figure it out.
Feels like Ryan Leaf levels of like, nah, I'm not doing it.
Well, here we go. We've got some players. I mean, there's players who didn't want to were holding out.
Yeah, holding out for a contract though is kind of different because that's established in the off season. It's not like Zach Wilson's holding out for a $100 million contract.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, Eli Manning didn't.
Okay.
Yeah, Antonio Brown didn't want to play for the Raiders.
Antonio Brown's a different cat, I'd say, in this situation.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a rare situation for sure. So, but yes.
Yeah.
I do want to mention one other thing real quick.
Go ahead.
One other team, the Rams.
Yeah, they're sneakily kind of flying over the radar.
Similar to the Packers, they might make the playoffs at this point. And preseason, Did not think that was going to happen. You had Stafford coming back, but he was coming back from an injury where you weren't sure if he was going to be able to throw the ball or not. You had questions about whether Sean McVay wanted to continue coaching or go into commentary and doing stuff on TV networks. You didn't know if Aaron Donald, was going to retire or not. But they've gotten a lot of good production out of young players. This is in part because they've had so much cap space taken up by big contracts that they kind of had to get talent from, back ends of the draft, also in part because they would trade picks for players as well. So, Kyron Williams, Puka Nacua, both fifth-round picks, both playing very, very well right now. Puka Nacua probably going to be the runner-up for Rookie of the Year. You've got guys like Darian Kendrick, former Clemson player, on the roster, doing all right in the secondary. But they've been, for the past few years, they were all about let's, F them picks, as
right.
they like to have said, and, focus on getting veterans in the building to be competitive. And they've kind of flipped that switch to where, all right, we're going total youth. This is in part because they kind of had to, but they've gone totally with the youth plan, and it's kind of worked out, minus Matthew Stafford, of course.
Right, and we saw this coming when you saw your soul to the devil to get that Super Bowl. And they did. So in part, it's almost like these last couple of years where they've been okay or below average. It's we'll take that. We got the ultimate prize and we kind of sold out for it. So we have to work in a different facet for these first couple of years. But now they're starting to kind of return to form in a sense where they're no longer trapped by the grips of the salary cap disaster strike or the draft pick just lack thereof. So you're starting to see players develop, and they're a tough team to play always just because Sean McVay is such a great coach. They play the Ravens on the road this weekend, which could prove to be trouble. But they are a team that I enjoy watching when I get the chance, just because you never know what McVay is cooking in that brain of his.
There you go. But yeah, the Rams look all right. They look all right. And I think they have their first-round pick this year, so congrats
there you
to
go.
them. Congrats to them. Anything else you want to talk about before we kind of get out of here?
I think we're good, man.
All right. Well, that's going to do it for this episode of The Cover 2 presented by TigerVision. I want to thank Connor in the back for producing. As always, we want to thank you for tuning in. Go ahead and like, subscribe, do all the comments and all of that jazz. And yeah, we'll see you next time. Have a good one.